Monza, the final European round of this year's action-packed Grand Prix season. It's a race important to every team, but none more so than Ferrari. Centre of attention for the thousands of Italian fans is the team's #1 driver, Gilles Villeneuve of Canada. Gilles' wife, Joanne, and his daughter, Melanie, are in the pits for practice as Gilles gets ready to qualify for Sunday's race. Melanie makes no secret of the fact that she favours Ferrari and looks after Daddy's watch. She is certainly his #1 fan. Villeneuve, at 29, has been racing for 4 years in Grand Prix, but his first competition success came when he won the World Snowmobile title in 1974. He blitzed his way through Formula Ford and Formula Atlantic, and after a one-off drive for McLaren, joined Ferrari at the end of 1976. This season has embraced brilliant wins in Spain and Monaco, but too often the turbo Ferrari has let him down. Unlike Nelson Piquet, he is no longer in contention for the World Championship. Like Renault's René Arnoux, it has been largely a year of frustration. For Alan Jones, it has also been a similar story, but the Australian can still win that title for the Tag Williams team. To do so, he has to win at Montreal and beat his teammate, the enigmatic Carlos Reutemann of Argentina. Ready for practice, Gilles wears his familiar orange and blue crash helmet, which makes him easily distinguishable from his French teammate, Didier Pironi, who joined the team last year. Amongst the top names in Grand Prix racing, Gilles has an unparalleled reputation as a man who will never give up until his machinery falls apart around him. As practice commenced at Monza, it was just another hectic day for Gilles. The previous Sunday, he had been taking part in a special powerboat race for Grand Prix drivers held on Lake Como near Monza. He won it in spectacular style. On Monday, he was back at home in Monaco. On Tuesday, it was back to Italy for testing at Ferrari's track at Fiorano. He spent Thursday flying his helicopter to the Côte d'Azur for a business meeting and arrived at Monza on Thursday evening. Aggressive he may be on the track, but off it, Gilles is a charming and friendly man. Unlike some of the sports superstars, he is very accessible to the public and press alike. When I spoke to him about his chosen career in the paddock, he was as frank and was refreshingly honest as always.
Gilles Villeneuve, Grand Prix racing, I suppose, must have changed your lifestyle quite a bit. It's very different here from Canada, for instance.
Well, here in Monza, yes, it's very different than anything in Canada. But living in Monaco is, I guess, the closest thing, the closest town to what we can find in America. And of course it changed a bit, but we tried to make it as similar as it was in Canada.
Did you enjoy your life in Monaco, presumably?
Well, I first found it a bit tough when I moved in Europe, because the habits, and as I am typical Canadian or American or North America, if you want, I found it very tough first in Europe, because the habits of living are very, very different. But now, since 4 years, I mean, we're used to it, and I like it.
You've obviously earned quite a lot of money with Ferrari. How are you spending that money? Do you enjoy the money?
Well, some people put it in the bank to have more, but I don't put much in the bank. I just spend it.
The helicopter, I think, is one of your favourite toys, perhaps.
Well, the one I have is not mine. It belongs to Walter Wolf, and it's sort of a leasing I have. So, in fact, but I always manage all the things I get to have them quite cheaply. So the helicopter, I have a good deal on it. I bought an offshore boat a few months ago, and that is another type of a deal where I do some PR for the guy in Italy. So even though I spend a bit, I try to have a good deal.
What else do you spend your money on? Clothes, are they of interest to you, or cars?
No, not really. I guess it stops very much there. It's just that when I feel I want to buy something, I just, if I can afford it, I buy it, which is pretty much like every Canadian, I guess.
But you've got quite a collection of cars back home, haven't you?
No, not really. I want to, maybe that's why you say that. I want to collect some cars, some typical American car, and I am quite fond. I've always been fond on Ford, the product, back in Canada, so I would probably create a collection of that in the future.
You haven't got a Ferrari for the road?
Yes, I have a Ferrari for the road, but as I have them, I don't see the point of collecting them. And also, to make a collection of Ferrari is just bloody too expensive.
Very expensive. What about the danger of racing? And the famous Japanese accident a few years ago, that was a pretty horrific sort of business. Do you ever worry about the dangers? It's very dangerous out there. I know you're on the safety committee of the GPDA. What do you think about the dangers? You just accept them?
Well, we worked very hard at improving the circuit, and I can tell you that all the Grand Prix circuit are the best in the world. Any other track you're going to race on, which doesn't receive a Grand Prix race, is a lot less safer than any of the Grand Prix races, because we improve it, bad ear, catch fence stars and everything, and it's always can be made safer, but it's not too bad right now. The cars are made safer also, strongly and everything. And as a personal point of view, well, I don't really think much of that. Of course, I don't want to kill myself, but I guess it's part of the job, and we accept it the way it is. I know that I can have maybe an accident tomorrow and hurt myself and maybe in hospital for a couple of months, but you can always come back from that. So that's the way I see it. I know that a couple of times a year I can have a big accident. It's part of the job, and hopefully I won't have one, but one day I might get hurt.
What about your rivals? You have any special friends in racing at all? Or do you treat them all very much as rivals?
Yes, I do have quite close friends, especially the French driver, I would say. I don't know why, they're not better people than the other drivers, but it just happened like that. I guess like Patrick Tambay, René Arnoux, Alain Prost, and Pironi, my teammate. We are very friends, but on the track we are just very much rival.
You've had a very mixed season too, fantastic wins, and I'm sure Monaco must have meant a lot to you. But how do you cope with the frustrations after having two very good wins, and then you've been scratching around at the back, trying very hard, obviously much harder than most of the people out there. How do you cope with that, and does it get to you?
Well, it's tough, of course. You prefer when the car is very much competitive and you can battle it up front. Even if you don't win, at least you know that you're going to do a good race, being second, third, fourth, or fifth, but battle up there. Which has not been the case after Spain, but even Spain should not have been the case. But I was leading, and I happened to, the circumstances made me lead it, and I kept it to the end like that.
Is that your best race ever?
It's been, as a driver's point of view, as myself, if I look at it, I think it's been one of my best races. It was very tough to do. But then the car fell back to where it belonged a little bit, I guess, because even in Spain, the car should have finished 6th or 7th. I'm not saying that I made it finish first, but I had the opportunity of being leading and then not fade off. So times have been very tough. Now right here it's improving quite a bit. We've done good testing 2 weeks ago on the springs, dampers, and bump rubbers and skirts, and the car is a lot more drivable than it's been for a long time.
Now, you're something of a racer's racer. By that I mean that a lot of the other racing drivers reckon you, certainly all the press, certainly all the English press, reckon you're the best. I'm included in that. Does that give you a good feeling?
Well, it's always nice to see that the people think nice things of you. We're getting lost in that. That's after practice, that's why. And so it's nice to hear that, but I mean, it won't change anything in my driving.
Do you think racing's in your blood? Because I mean, you race snowmobiles. I mean, you were fast in the powerboat the other day and won that race.
Well, I guess I just like it for the sake of the racing. It's not because of the money in it, even though it's nice to have the money in it. And even if I'm qualified 20 or 18 or 15, I just give my best, the same thing. And that's maybe what makes the difference with some other driver, which will give their best when they're up front, but they will really go a bit slower when they're at the back of the pack.
Of course, some people say that's a rather old-fashioned view of motor racing, but I must say I like it. But
I think it's better when you like it. It's not something you can do well and with all your art if you don't like it. But I think everybody in it right now likes it. They have to.
Did you always dream of being a racing driver? You started on snowmobiles. Did you go snowmobile racing to earn enough money to buy a Formula Ford, or was racing on snow your first love?
No, it just happened like that. Racing car would have been my first love, but I couldn't afford it. The opportunity was not there. And the opportunity raised to race snowmobiling, and with the snowmobile I won a few races, and that way the ball got rolling. I got a little name with that. Eventually I made some money with that, with the purse, and I could afford to buy a Formula Ford, and on and on.
Practice is almost as important as the race. A good grid position is vital in today's Formula One racing because overtaking is desperately difficult with the current cars. In the pits, the Ferrari team log every lap and Joanne helps with the stopwatches. Racing is certainly Gilles' life, and he currently entertains no thought of retirement. A retired former world champion who holds Gilles in the highest esteem is Britain's James Hunt.
James Hunt, some people say you discovered Gilles Villeneuve.
Well, not really. I mean, you didn't have to be much of a brain surgeon to spot his talents when he was driving Formula Atlantic in Canada, but I went over there and raced against him and got thrashed by him in a Formula Atlantic car, which I had so expected to be. But he was already, I think, for those who followed it, he was already well known in Europe because that was the year he was cleaning everything up in Atlantic.
And he joined you as a teammate for a brief amount of time.
Yes, I think that's the only thing I was responsible for, was going back to McLaren's. In fact, before I went, I said, you've got to do this, and they signed him up, and then unfortunately they let him go, and Ferrari got him.
What do you think his strong qualities are?
Well, it's probably easy to look for his weaknesses, I would think, which aren't very many now. The biggest problem now is, I think, the year that he could have won the championship, which was, what, 79, when Ferrari had a pretty good car and all that reliability, he rather threw it away. He made a lot of mistakes then, and always from easy situations, from winning situations. Unfortunately, since that time, he hasn't really been put to the test because he hasn't been in those winning situations because he hasn't had a good enough car. But that would really be his only weakness. I mean, he's a terrific competitor. He's got an abundance of natural talent that's probably second to nobody in the business, and he's a thinker off the track. His weakness was he didn't think well on the track at that time, but I think by now, if you put him in a winning car again, I don't think he'd be making those sort of mistakes anymore. He's much more experienced, but one would have to actually test it to see, and that's up to Ferrari to provide him with a car.
And what about the Spanish Grand Prix this year? Because that was a classic race, wasn't it?
Well, and Monte Carlo. I mean, on both occasions, it was a fantastic effort of qualifying a bad car really well by sheer sort of blood and thunder, and then wrestling the thing around the track and keeping it in front and not making any mistakes. It was bad, and the Spanish Grand Prix was absolutely brilliant because, I mean, the car deserved to be about 10th.
Monza is the home of the Ferrari, and every time Gilles pulls out of the pits, there is a tremendous cheer from the fanatical Ferrari fans. This year, Ferrari switched from their venerable flat 12 3-litre engines to a new turbocharged 1.5-litre V6, which is fast but unreliable. One man who is pleased the Ferrari have been in problems is world champion Alan Jones, another Villeneuve fan.
Alan Jones, your assessment of Gilles Villeneuve?
Oh, he's a very nice guy. I get on very well with Gilles. I have done ever since he first got into Formula One.
What about him as a rival? He's a pretty tough opponent, isn't he?
He's too quick, yeah, it's a problem. He's very quick, very aggressive, but he's fair. That's the main thing. He's a very good competitor.
You've had some big old battles with him. I seem to remember a Canadian Grand Prix a couple of years ago.
Yes, but I mean, he's one of the people that you feel safe about racing closely with, and I could race closely with Gilles all day, and I would like to think he knows what I'm going to do, and I know what he's going to do, and it's a pleasure to race against somebody like that.
Presumably you wouldn't want to swap cars with him, though, right at the moment?
Swap engines?
But not chassis, I feel.
No.
Do you think he's got a chance of making that Ferrari quick enough for Montreal to challenge you and Carlos and Piquet, or do you think it's going to be a bit of a battle?
No, the funny thing about the Ferrari is that the less it has to handle, the better off it is. In other words, if it goes to a circuit where they can actually use the horsepower, he'll be quite okay. But there are some tricky corners at Montreal, so he could be in with a bit of trouble. But it could very well be one of these circuits where they get up and surprise us, like they did at Monaco in Spain.
And just going back to that Grand Prix in Montreal, 2 years ago, wasn't it, you had that tremendous battle with him? I think you beat Gilles, didn't you, on that occasion?
Yes, he led for most of the race, and I got him under brakes for the hairpin before the pits and beat him by half a second or something. It was very close stuff right throughout the race.
Your own chances for the Canadian Grand Prix, looking forward to it?
Very much so. I like Montreal very much. I love the circuit, and I'd like to try and make it a hat-trick if I can.
Gilles' driving style is undoubtedly spectacular, and his whole approach to racing has won him many fans in Europe, and not just in Italy. He is perhaps less technical than some drivers, but when the flag drops, he always races flat out. He portrays the old-fashioned image of the race driver as a daredevil rather than a test pilot. He would never race only for points to clinch a title, as some do. Instead, it's victory or nothing if the car is a winner. It makes exciting copy for Europe's racing journalists.
Nigel Roebuck, you're the Grand Prix editor of Autosport. How do you place Gilles Villeneuve amongst the Grand Prix drivers at the moment?
I put him at the top without any doubt. I always have. For the last couple of years, I think he's generally been in a class of his own as far as sheer raw ability is concerned. Last couple of years he hasn't had a particularly good car, but his talent has still come through, and he's coped very well when things have been bad. When the car's been bad, he's never given up. I just put him at number one.
How would you put him against the world's former greats, Jackie Stewart and Nuvolari, or the greats of the past?
Well, I think in Spain we were all asked to list the top 5 drivers in our opinion since the war, and I think most of us put him in there, and I certainly would. I think to me he's comparable with Stewart, and is going to be on a par with Clark. I'm quite sure of that. I think he'll improve and improve.
And in the future, do you think he can win the World Championship?
Well, yeah, without any doubt. After Spain this year, I thought he was going to win it this year, and he came very close 2 years ago. I don't think there's any doubt. It's just a matter of the right car at the right time.
But behind all the glamour and glitter of the Grand Prix scene, there are hard-working mechanics and technicians. Not that for the Ferrari team go without their lunch and a bottle of local wine. They are a happy bunch who work long hours to put Gilles behind the wheel of the best car possible. Joan Villeneuve is a popular figure too, not surprisingly when she and Melanie help serve up the spaghetti to the spanner men.
You helped to cook this Ferrari feast today?
No, not at all. Normally I don't even help serving. It's just because they have so many extra people here that they need a little bit of help.
I think you've probably got a big enough job looking after Gilles, haven't you, at the race weekend?
Yes, especially here. I mean, he's sort of the favorite racer here. So it's a little.
How can you cope with that pressure? Does it get you down sometimes?
Oh, it doesn't affect me because I'm not. I mean, he's the one that everyone's after. So I just walk behind him, and no one notices me.
And do you enjoy racing yourself?
Not really.
Not really?
No. It's interesting because I know what's happening, but I don't think I would be a good spectator.
Do you worry at all about Gilles, or are you quite content that he knows what he's doing out there?
Everyone worries about the person they care a lot about. But you sort of thing you have to live with. There's nothing you can do about it.
Did you know Gilles before he started racing, in fact?
Yes, I did. So we started together, so it wasn't so bad, I guess.
Marco Piccinini, you're the team manager of Gilles Villeneuve. What about this French-Canadian driver you have? He's very good, isn't he?
I think he's very good, and just not to say so many words, because truth things needs not many words to be said. I would say that he's a man who never give up. He never give up, he's always there. Whether he's in pole position and maybe it's a good chance to win the race, either he's maybe in the back of the field with some problems, his will, his engagement is always the same. That is very important.
And special memories from this year, a tremendous drive from Gilles in the Spanish Grand Prix. A highlight for you?
Yes, it was a race, you know. He was himself in a very hard position, but I must say that also the team was participating a lot, because we understood that he was really trying very, very hard, and I think that only a few drivers could have succeeded in that very difficult situation.
And he gets on well with everybody, doesn't all the mechanics like him, the whole team likes Gilles?
You know, Gilles Villeneuve, this is his 4th year with our team. He has confirmed to us that he will be with us also in the future for 82 and 83. And what I can say, that of course the atmosphere with him is very good. We know that now is, I can say, a member of our family.
Marco Piccinini, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Quebec plates on Gilles' articulated motorhome give away his origins. Unlike all the other Grand Prix drivers, Gilles spurns hotels for his own bed right here in the paddock. He prefers to have his family around him, his wife cook his meals, and his own place to hide away. Between races, the unit is driven from circuit to circuit by an old friend. Definitely his own man is Mr. Villeneuve.
Now, racing course has brought you a lot of fame, as all these people behind us at this fence, obviously trying to get at you. And does that get to you? There's a lot of pressure on you, all the people. How do you cope with fame?
Well, deep inside, I don't think anything has changed in me. I think I'm the same guy. I see the same friends. Even when I go back in Quebec, I see the same friends I used to have. So that way doesn't change, except that, especially at a racetrack like here, and especially in Italy, I have to hide a bit because otherwise you're packed with people 24 hours a day, and there's just so much time you can be with people, and you must be some time with yourself, with the team, with the engineer, and so it's a bit tough because at the racetrack I just don't have any freedom whatsoever.
I suppose it'll be the same at Montreal. A lot of people will be wanting your autograph and talk to you there. What do you think about that Montreal race? You've got high hopes for that?
Well, it depends how it will go here, but so far in qualifying it's been quite decent. So, but is it because we really improved the car, or is it by the tradition that the Ferrari is always good at Monza? I don't know. But really, I think we've improved a bit, and I think it should carry on like that in Montreal. We should be competitive in Montreal, decently competitive.
Do you like the track there?
Yeah, I like the track, of course.
The best track in Canada, or?
Yes, I guess. I mean, it has a bit of everything: fast corners, hairpins, chicanes, and it's quite to do 80-lap battling on that. It's tough.
What do you do about keeping fit? I mean, you don't look a great muscle man. You're obviously strong, but do you do any running? A lot of drivers do a lot of physical exercise. Do you?
Well, I guess it depends on each individual. I don't happen to need much, and I never do much. I guess I'm a bit lazy at that. But I guess when I'm going to get a bit older, I'll have to do some. But on the off season, when it's depends on how I feel. If I feel I'm lacking or I'm not fit like I should feel I am, then I will do a bit of running or training or whatever it is, what I feel like I must do.
Now your brother's going to be racing against you. Have you ever raced against him before?
Yes, and not in cars, but we raced together in snowmobile.
And how do you think that's going to work out?
Oh, well, we're batting it out like if there was $1 million purse at the end of it in snowmobile, so it's going to be the same in car.
Do you give him any advice? He's your little brother, isn't he? Do you give him any help, or can he look after himself?
Well, there's not much help or advice you can do. Well, he's over there and I'm over here, so it's a bit far. But when he started in Atlantic, I said to him, don't listen to anybody, just do what you feel like you want to do. Because if you say to him, you got to go easy and finish the race or this or that, that's when somebody makes mistake. You, in car racing especially, you just do the things like you feel you should do them.
The Renaults led the race from the start, but René Arnoux in number 16 retired, as did Slim Borgard, the pop musician turned racer, in his yellow ATS. It was another unhappy day for Gilles too. His Ferrari only lasted 4 laps before it also expired in a pall of smoke. Teammate Didier Pironi was having a better race than Gilles as he fought his way up to 4th place at one stage, although he too finished out of the points. Motoring well was John Watson, winner of the British Grand Prix at Silverstone earlier this year, but at Monza it was a different story. Amazingly, Watson was totally uninjured in that horrific and fiery accident which had cut the Marlboro McLaren clean in two. Gilles, meanwhile, was out of his overalls in his helicopter and setting off for Monaco. No doubt his thoughts were already about Montreal and whether his luck would change in front of his home fans.